Welcome back to Out and About Today. I'm Brent Meredith. Joining me now to discuss the Nashville Symphony's 75th anniversary season and its return to the stage is Patron Engagement and Crescendo Club Manager Jacob Tudor. Welcome, Jacob. Good to see you.
Hi, thank you for having me. Great to see you also.
Of course. Thank you so much for coming and talking to us about such a sort of a monumental time for you guys. 75 years, back on the stage after 18 months, and I want to dig into that a little deeper, but for the sake of folks watching tonight, I thought we would start out talking about you. Give us a little bit of your history and your background and how you landed back here in Nashville.
Yeah, so I first moved to Nashville in 2015 for grad school at Belmont. My mom's family is actually from Murfreesboro, and both her and my aunt went to Belmont alum. And it was my dream growing up in Southwest Ohio, where I went to undergrad, to move to Nashville. And with my family connection nearby and acceptance into the grad school program at Belmont, I moved here in August of 2015. And in the fall of 2019, I joined Nashville Symphony's administration on the development team as a patron engagement officer. And shortly following, in July 2020, following the COVID-19 pandemic, is when the Nashville Symphony furloughed musicians and most of the staff also, including myself. Leaving the field of classical music and development was just not an option for me, and I interviewed for months and eventually began to widen my search out of Middle Tennessee. And last fall accepted a position at the Cleveland Institute of Music in Cleveland, Ohio, and I relocated there. And then Nashville Symphony began to rebuild in the spring and summer of this year, and my former supervisor, who's now my supervisor again, reached out on one of my trips here and asked my interest in coming back, and so here I am.
Well, we're all glad that you're back. I mean, I know that has to be a hard, sort of decision to make when it's really not a decision that you made on your own to have to leave, but then to be able to come back, with that bit of experience and another place, and then it almost makes you appreciate coming back home even more, is what I guess I'm trying to say. But thank you for that bit of background. It's always nice for folks watching to kind of know who it is we're talking to. But that will kind of lead us a little bit into sort of your current role, and I know you mentioned development and patron engagement, but what exactly does that entail, and sort of how do you go about doing that day to day?
Yeah, so my title is Patron Engagement and Crescendo Club Manager, and I work on the development team in fundraising and engaging with patrons, engaging our patrons with the orchestra. And I now oversee what is called our Crescendo Club, which is a group for young professionals in the Nashville area who love classical music and desire to support the symphony in our artistic and educational mission. And additionally, I work with the Associate Board of Directors, which is a young professional leadership group who commit their time and resources to cultivate the next generation of symphony supporters and oversee the Crescendo Club group also.
Well, what a valuable resource and group to have a part of the organization. How does one sort of become a member of the Crescendo Club or the young professional group? Do you have to be invited?
Yeah.
Can you request?
Memberships are a $100 annual donation for a full calendar year and $150 for a dual membership, and that can all be done online on our website, crescendoclub.org. Yeah, so that's how you join. It's open to anyone 21 to 40 who has an interest in classical music and supporting the symphony.
No, that's really cool. I didn't realize it was so easy to join. I'm going to have to get in gear and do that myself because it is nice to have that sort of inside scoop and to donate. So if someone maybe doesn't have the resources or doesn't want to commit to that level, I know when you and I spoke before the show, you talked about volunteering and sort of how does one go about doing that, and what does that entail?
Yeah, so we have a huge amount of volunteer opportunities here at the Symphony, from everything in the range of concert night, whether if you want to, be a greeter and you can also attend a concert for free, orchestra auditions, if you want to volunteer to help that process and see kind of like the behind the scenes of how does somebody win an audition with an orchestra. That's a really cool way that you can get involved. Our fundraising efforts and events, we're always looking for volunteers to be involved in, like the Symphony Ball, and which we can, chat about in a bit, Symphony Ball and the Symphony Fashion Show, which are huge events in the area. our education team is always looking for volunteers. So lots of different ways to get involved in volunteering.
That is amazing, because I mean, even someone who sort of has followed the symphony since for a number of years since I lived here did not realize that one could just volunteer for just about anything and be a part of things, and it doesn't cost you a dime.
Yeah. It's totally up to our volunteers how they'd like to get involved with, however their schedule and their lifestyle fits what we do. And collectively, it looks like we have volunteers who contribute a total of over 20,000 hours of their time in a given year, which saves us about $500,000 in operational expenses. So volunteering is huge, and we are so grateful to have volunteers who want to help out with what we do. Well, that's a really good point, because I think it bears repeating, much like we talked about in last week's show with Pride, that you guys are a nonprofit organization, and all the you're always looking for all the help you can get, right? Yeah, absolutely. And we recognize how important it is for people to donate their time. So we actually give donor recognition for people who donate at least 20 hours of their time, which is approximately like $500 of $500 of their time. Wow, no, and that's fantastic. So you may be seeing me there more often. I would love to have something to do when or at one of the events, instead of just coming and enjoying the show. It's always nice. You just get a better feel for the audience when you can talk and interact with them. So that is exceptionally cool. And I know we've got a lot more to talk about, but I am going to have to go to break real quick, so just stay right there. But we'll be right back with more Nashville Symphony 75th anniversary coverage after this short break. Stay with us.